nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell here with my co-host Glenn Martin. And I tell you what, if you're a Ravens fan just like us, you've been excited about these videos coming out, you know, with just the helmets on and the jerseys on and these guys getting together in camp for the first time. Everybody's schedule's on the same page, just like the coaches talked about. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, the pads go on. We are really excited. And so what we're going to talk about as camp is ramping up is some of the events and the, the things that are going to be happening throughout this period of camp that we want to touch on, that we're excited to see, intrigued to get into as it gets, as the live action bullets start flying, right? Pads are on, guys are getting angry. The slobber knockers are spitting all over each other and everything else.
Jesus.
It's just going to be great, man.
Hopefully not too much.
Yeah, hopefully not too much. But so we have a couple points we're going to talk about. Glenn, I want you to start with what you're most interested in, wherever you want to start as far as what you want to see and what you're excited to see with these pads coming on, man.
Yeah, so for me, I think one of the biggest off-season developments was when Hayden Hurst decided he wasn't comfortable being the number 2 or number 3 tight end here and forced his way, in a sense, out of Baltimore to get to Atlanta, where I think most agree that he will have one heck of a season upcoming. But I think the quality of the third tight end play in this system is just as important as a number 2 receiver in most. He's going to be on the field a ton, and we need to have good quality play. So I'm interested to see who's going to take the reins on that third tight end spot. I mean, right now it appears that Eli, Wolf, Adams, and Scarf are going to be the ones competing for that job unless the Ravens add another one to the mix. But right now, I believe that those are the 3. One of those 3 are going to have this job. And, man, it's going to be important that they get – and you mentioned the pads coming on. That's a big move because if you're going to play tight end, especially the third tight end role, you got to be able to block. I mean, you're not going to be lined up outside like Andrews all the time. You're going to have to be in there and asked to do more than just go out and catch the ball. So this is a big time for that third tight end spot because they got to show that they are at least willing blockers. I mean, they don't have to be Nick Boyle out there, but they at least have to be willing to put their body on the line and at least shield, at least get in between the ball carrier and the would-be tackler. Third tight end spot for me, Jimmy. I don't know who – I mean, I guess Scarf would be the leader in the clubhouse because he's a year in the system and all that. But, man, Eli Wolf seems to be the more athletic, and Jarrell Adams seems to be maybe that untapped potential type guy that could possibly, if given the opportunity, maybe it's kind of the same situation we've seen with a couple of guys in Baltimore where with more opportunity, the production would skyrocket. So, to me, I'm looking at tight end first and foremost. Where are you looking at, Jimbo?
Yeah, so I want to tell you about what I'm most intrigued about, but before I do that, really quick, with tight end, one of the things that I'm nervous about is, and I'll reference our previous show with Ken McCusick. You guys should go check that out. He talked about how Hayden did something that he's the only tight end that could do it when he would run in the backfield and get to the second or third level from the backfield in a blocking scenario where he had the speed and the athletic ability to hold off a DB or an athletic linebacker, but that Andrews couldn't do it and Boyle just wasn't quick enough to get there in time. So that concerns me as far as our deception and the breadth of our playbook. It kind of, he was the only one that could do it. I didn't realize that. So just a nugget there from Ken, but something to keep an eye on because we need a guy that's going to do that if we want to do that. So that's a great point. What I want to see, I talked about the slobber knockers in the beginning. I know it's not sexy, but the O-line battle is something that's interesting. And as we speak, Bleacher Report just came out with a report that Matt Skura just passes his physical. So he's ready for play. But on the Ravens wire, our other buddy Matt Stevens put out an article. It looks like the Ravens might have shown their hand a little bit with all the 4 starters that you would think of with Macari at center. So I want to know a couple things. What's their hesitancy with throwing Bozeman at center? Does it more have to do with the fact that they don't think he's great at center, or does it have to do with the fact that, maybe there's not enough depth behind the left guard position where they can move him off of that? Because everyone that would be playing left guard for us would be new to the team and potentially a rookie because it looks like they had Fluker already in at right guard.
Right. Right.
So that's what I want to see. I really freaking want to see Bozeman fail at center before I move him back to left guard. I don't know. And the other thing could be, is Bredesen pushing Macari and Skura for that spot? And what will Skura look like? Will he be strong enough? He was already a slight center. Mm-hmm. So I have a ton of questions there. I'm interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I think the Bozeman thing is probably more so that we have more options at center that they're probably comfortable with than they do behind Bozeman at left guard.
Right.
And that's probably what it comes down to. They probably look at it like, why mess up left guard? We're good at left guard. Bozeman, he's not going to be an all-pro, but he's certainly more than serviceable at left guard. So why mess up that position just to try and fix center? But I understand your point. I think ideally, if you want to be your best, it's probably, if you could find that left guard, that Bozeman would be your center just because of him being a bigger, more physically imposing figure. But I don't know. I'm interested to see at center because to me the question is Matt Skura, not only is he healthy, but was he able to do any weight training? Was he able to get any stronger? Because if the strength is now leaning towards Macari, like if Macari was able to use this offseason to put on 15, 20 pounds, like we saw that transformation Hollywood made, maybe right. He was able to turn some of that baby fat, being a young rookie, into some man strength, and now he's the stronger player. So my whole thing is, if now Macari is the stronger player at center than Skura, is Skura's is it that he's known for his intelligence, that maybe he can overcome that by just his smarts and great play instincts? I don't know. But I think it'll be interesting to see who ends up being center tomorrow. Now that the pads are coming on, now that Skura's cleared to come back to practice. That picture, I mean, who else are they going to put at center, really, when they're just doing, air walkthroughs? They're not actually hitting anybody. So it made sense to have him there now. But tomorrow is when we'll really see, I think, where they're starting to put maybe Bozeman at center and just see what they got. It'll be interesting to see. But I would predict that it's going to be Macari versus Skura at center, unfortunately, for you, Jimmy. Just because you said that it would have to be a new left guard. They do have one guy, Ben Powers, in-house that could.
I guess that's true.
Now it looks like he was more of a right guard in college, unless I'm missing that. But
no, you're right.
But I mean, he could have been training for this, during the season and during the off season to make that switch to left guard, and I don't see that being that challenging. So yeah, but I agree with you. It's going to be an interesting decision to see what John does with center and left guard, with right guard looking like it's being given to Fluker.
Yeah, all right. What do you got next?
So on the defensive side, I know we can come back to offense, but I want to switch over to defense because originally I thought that it was a foregone conclusion in the cornerback room that these six guys were almost guaranteed to make it, and it'd be a waste of time for any other corner to join the roster. And those six would be Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters, Tavon Young, Anthony Averett, and Iman Marshall. And only because Anthony Averett was a fourth rounder in 2018 and Iman Marshall was a fourth rounder in 2019. So in order for them to bring in someone new, they would have to be cutting a fairly recent, in fact, last year's very recent fourth-round draft pick in order to add someone. So, Jimmy, I want to ask you, is there any chance that Josh Nurse, the unrestricted free agent corner who's got certainly some measurables, he's got the height, weight, speed, is there any chance that he could maybe beat out Iman Marshall or Anthony Averett for one of these cornerback spots?
You know what? I think so. I think there's a chance. I'm going to give you a couple reasons here. I'm naturally, he's from the University of Utah, so disclaimer off the bat. But like you said, one, he's got some physical gifts that don't grow on trees. He's a 6'3", 200-pound corner.
Rare. We
know that Ozzie likes size at corner, and a lot of that mentality has been pushed down to Eric. The other thing, too, is we like, for the most part, physical corners that can support in the run game. If he's that size, he's probably much more prone to playing a physical style game, right? Yeah. That's probably how he makes his money. And so those two reasons, give me a lot of intrigue in the opportunity for him to jump one of those two for that spot. And then on top of that, Eric is not as loyal to his draft picks as Ozzie. Look, if they're not cutting it, they're out of here. They're done. I mean, we've seen that already with a multitude of guys. Talking about Dalen Mack, we traded Wormley. Obviously Hayden Hurst is out of here. Who, by the way, they put out like a 30-second clip of him in Atlanta, and oh my gosh, he looks like yeah. But anyway, I think that there's a chance. I give him like a solid. I mean, we've had his agent on the show, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I give him like a solid 40% chance, man.
Wow, 40%. I mean, I think
maybe not 40% to replace one of those guys, but to make the roster between his value add in special teams and the gifts that he brings physically. I think he has a real shot here, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to have to, like you mentioned, show out on special teams, because I think that's where both Iman Marshall and Anthony Averett would be getting majority of their playing time, with the obvious four above them getting the majority of the snaps on defense. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, it makes you wonder why a 6'3", 200-pound corner didn't get, drafted. But I think it's just he doesn't necessarily have the greatest straight line speed, is what I'm saying. That he maybe had a poor 40 time, and that led to him not being drafted. I see a lot of slow guys out there. Who was the number 1 rated corner last year? Mr. Richard Sherman, who everyone for years has been saying, if you could just get by him, you can run away from him. Oh, yeah, well, they've been saying that for years, and every year he's one of the top-rated corners in the league. So sometimes height and length make up for a lack of speed, and Richard Sherman certainly shows that. But
I was just going to say really quick, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, he went through a position change.
Who's that?
Josh Nurse in college, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think that his lack of tape at corner and the fact that he's still learning it, I think that also affected it as well. So and then also I have a question for you on as far as his height and special teams. Do you think that there's any added value to the fact that, he's 6'3", relatively long guy. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that the likelihood of him coming off the corner on a kick and getting his hands on the ball could be higher, based on the fact that he's not 5'10", he's not 5'11". I mean, he's a longer guy. Do you think that that's something that they consider, or that, that's in the formula as far as making the team and having value on special teams? I think, thought about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would have to be – they're going to give him looks at that, and if he shows to be able to block, the most important thing is to be able to get off the ball really quickly.
Yeah.
And have that, incredible acceleration that we saw Ed Reed use many times to get back there and influence the kick. But so, yeah, he could. I think it takes a lot more than length, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have long arms and be 6'3" to help block kicks, no doubt.
Right.
But so now we have to talk about maybe the most – maybe the battle that we've talked about the most, and that's the running back room.
Yeah, all right.
Because to me, even if let's say that we take Eric DeCosta and we say when he mentioned that they possibly could keep 4, let's say he said they definitely keep 4. Let's pretend that they're definitely keeping 4. How in the world can they get the ball to all 4 of these guys? I mean, we saw when they just had 3 running backs make the roster last year, Justice Hill was far and away behind Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram when it came to carries and overall touches. So how now, if he's pushed down to be the 4th, I mean, how can he expect to have any role in this offense when he already had such a diminished one when there was only 2 guys ahead of him? Now you're talking about 3 guys ahead of him, one of which being a second-round draft pick, who is, clearly expected to take over as the bell cow, if not, midway through this year, certainly next. How do you see them using 4 running backs I guess if you had to have one offense to have 4 running backs, this would be it. But how do they do it, Jim? I mean, keep them all happy.
Yeah. So the only thing I was thinking about this, and my ears of smoke was starting to come out because I was thinking really hard. And do you remember last year the couple times they would run like the triple option, and Willie Snead happened to be the guy that would get like the pitch or whatever, things like that. Maybe in those scenarios you have 2 running backs out on the field, and you put the second running back, a Justice Hill, in that same spot where Willie Snead would be.
Okay.
I don't know. I could see some scenarios where we used a lot of tight ends last year because we had an abundance of talent at tight end, right? Maybe we find unique ways to get 2, maybe 3 running backs on the field at once. Look, I'm not the mastermind, but I could definitely see it.
Yeah, my question is, though, when would you ever want J.K. not being that guy who
Right.
gets the ball, or Mark Ingram, or Gus, or
Right.
Lamar? Like, when?
Yeah. No,
Anyway.
you're absolutely right. It doesn't make sense to try and force feed a guy and put the ball in the hands of someone who is less talented at doing what he's about to do than four people ahead of him.
Yeah, and it's not like it's because of a workload. I mean, they did it with 3 running backs last year. So clearly it won't be because they're tired or they need a breather, because they broke the rushing record with 3 guys. So certainly with 4, it won't be an issue of fatigue.
But what do you think about this as well? Okay, so what if they use, similar to what we do with outside linebackers when they get more advanced in their career, we start limiting their snap count, right? And putting them in scenarios where we know they're going to be successful. What if we do something like that with Mark to make sure he's ready for playoffs? And we ride Gus a lot in the season along with JK, right? Like we ride these guys. I don't know. It's a little bit different in running back because I feel like the more reps you get, especially Mark, as long as he doesn't get injured, the more reps he gets, the stronger he gets. You know what I mean? It's like a locomotive in that way, right? But I don't know. What do you think? I think it's going to be really difficult, and I think one of these guys is going to be really upset about their, lack of production.
Yeah, well, if they do keep 4 running backs, yeah, someone's going to be bummed out. I think cycling them in and out as if they were, you mentioned the outside linebacker position, it's a little different because it seems like they like to, like most teams, ride the hot hand, and if Mark's feeling it, if JK's feeling it, I can see them feeding the beast and letting them keep going. But, yeah, I mean, they certainly have to figure out a way to get Mark Ingram healthy to the playoffs because we saw that was a huge, huge deal when they got to the playoffs last year when they didn't have it. Even if he was there, but he wasn't obviously 100% and not someone that they looked like they trusted in that game by his lack of carries and touches. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they decide to keep 4 where they sacrifice elsewhere. I think me and you are alone on this. I don't know how they keep 4. I think they eventually cut Justice Hill or try and get one of them and try and get them through to the practice squad. But we're kind of alone on that, and we'll have to wait and see. But what's another position that you look at?
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question about this one. A lot of people aren't. I mean, I'm excited about our draft class, but I think that Metabuke is kind of going unnoticed. Are you as excited as me, first of all, to see this guy, this freaking man-child, get out there and put some pads on and start throwing some interior offensive linemen around? Like, I mean, I don't know if he's going to throw DJ Fluke around, but I'm excited for him to give that shove to somebody and have them taken aback a little bit. So I'm excited to see him play. I guess my question to you would be, are you as excited about this guy as I am? And then do you think Derek Wolfe's numbers or his days are numbered based on the fact that I think this kid's going to come roaring out the gates?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think his explosiveness, his quick twitch type movements, I think will definitely get him on the field early as a pass rusher. And man, I mean, if he can, the performance he put on at the combine at his size and showing the explosiveness that he was able to show. I mean, he had 31 reps on the bench press. He's just a big, strong, quick twitch guy, and that just seems like the perfect interior pass rusher to complement the other guys around him, bringing in Calais Campbell and obviously still having Judon on the outside. But I think this could be a really good thing for Wolfe at the same time because he's had some injury issues. He's coming off the elbow. I think that having a guy like Justin actually makes Wolfe better because he's not going to be asked to do all the those run stuffing downs, those goal that he might not be asked to do that. They may be able to bring in a Matabuke or who's the other Broderick Washington. They could still bring him in. So it could end up actually benefiting Wolfe to have less snaps, and he could be more productive and put up more numbers with less playing time.
Broderick Washington's looked the same since 10th grade. Gosh.
I know you're not a Broderick guy.
But what else you got? So, actually, I'm going to ask you this one too. Harbaugh, once again, kind of showed his hands. I just want to touch this one briefly. As far as quarterback goes, he said we're probably going to carry 3 again. But are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that our number 2 is RG3 and our number 2 is not Trace McSorley, and that our number 3 would be Huntley. Is there any world where you see that could happen? I just don't know if RG3 is a lock.
To me, he's an absolute lock.
Really?
100%. Just because of what the importance of Lamar, it's like you don't want to mess up anything that's going good with Lamar. So
Right.
to take Robert out of his ear, who I'm sure has been a mentor for him, a friend to him, I don't think they would ever want to mess up what Lamar's got going on. And it's not like Griffin costs a lot of money. It's not like there's really no negatives to having him on the roster. He came in last year, week 17. He led them to a victory against a motivated Steeler team that needed a win. So he's shown that if you needed a game or 2 games, if Lamar was forced to miss with a high ankle or something, that he could go in and do it. There's nobody else on the roster that has any playing experience. This guy was rookie of the year. I mean, this guy's played in playoff games. He's the obvious and only real choice to me as the number 2. The question to me is at number 3. But when I heard John Harbaugh talk about this, and he said that the plan is to keep 3, he mentioned that the fear was if they cut McSorley, he would not make it through waivers, would not be able to be put on the practice squad. Someone would definitely sign him. I don't see how that fear is alleviated this year.
Right.
I think that fear remains. So
right.
If they thought enough of McSorley that they would be worried he'd get snatched away and signed to a 53 roster, to take someone off our practice squad or to take someone off of waivers, you got to sign them to your team, to your roster. So the fact that they were worried somebody would do that, despite him not being in their building, learning their playbook, training with their guys, means they must think a lot about him, and they must think that other teams think a lot about Trace. So while I was kind of with you in the offseason thinking that Tyler Huntley had, just because of the fact that he looks more like the type of quarterback that would fit this system with his athleticism and arm strength and all that, I thought maybe he had a shot to push McSorley. But after John's comments, I think it would be really – it's just going to be tough for any, undrafted guy to come in this year. But certainly a quarterback when it's a steep learning curve coming from the college level to the pros.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know though. I just don't. Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, but I just don't know if RG is a foregone conclusion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. What else you got for me?
Yeah, so wide receiver is huge this year. I mean, I don't know if there's a more important position for this team than wide receiver this year. I mean, they're going to be big. We mentioned the third tight end play. It could dip this year. They could pick that third tight end play up with one of these wide receivers we're about to mention. Last year, let me see. I pull up last year's. Last year they kept 6 wide receivers. So that's typical, the average number that they're going to keep. But if that was the case, we're looking at a couple guys that might end up leaving. And then they further kind of convolute. I don't know where we're looking for, but they further complicated the situation. There we go. They further complicate the situation by signing DeAnthony Thomas, where he's now listed as a wide receiver, which is.
No, you're talking about Kenyon Barner.
I'm sorry, Kenyon Barner, who's now listed as a wide receiver, which, as far as I know, he's a running back.
He's a career running back, right?
Yeah, but if you look him up, they have him listed as a wide receiver. So, and he did, I think catch some balls out of the slot last year. Maybe not many, but so maybe that it gets interesting if there's no other option at punt return and they have to sign him. I mean, you're gonna classify him as a running back, so we're gonna keep 5? I mean, what's going on here? How many running backs we keep? If you classify him as a wide receiver, what are you gonna keep 7? Or are you gonna cut
we could classify Justice Hill as the water boy and then put him back at running back. We could put Kenyon Barner at running back.
That's a hot button topic. So yeah, man. I mean, my question is, I mean, I guess we know for sure Marquise is the number 1, but I don't even know past that. I mean, I guess Willie Snead is penciled in, but I don't even know if that's for sure. Past number 1 being Marquise, the rest of where they are all, fitting in is pretty unknown. I mean, what do you see? How do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, so the guys we know that are going to make the team, who our number 2 is, I'm not sure. The guys we know is Marquise, Snead, Boykin, and who am I missing here?
Duvernay and Prochet.
Oh yeah, Duvernay and Prochet. So, but yeah, I mean, I think your hand is forced by the fact that Chris Moore brings, far and away brings the most value on special teams. I think if you're talking about a lock, he's the most locked in 6th receiver, barring injury, potentially in the NFL, right? Like he to me, he's very good at the 6th spot. But this is something I'm going to say, and I'm going to throw a grenade in the fish barrel here. Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to give the credit to one of our commenters about this. We talked about the top of the show, the lack of depth at tight end. When is Jaleel Scott going to give up on playing wide receiver, eat some pancakes at 6'6", and go slide into that third tight end spot? I mean, he's athletic, he's fast, he can catch the ball, he can high point it. We've seen at least in preseason. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Look, you're not going to make the team as a wide receiver, bro. Like, unfortunately, I know you're a Scott fan. You're a Jaleel Scott guy. Yeah. Dude, everyone talks about how Boykin's a little too small and we want to see Boykin keep playing wide receiver. That's fine because he's got an opportunity there. But Jaleel, he's going to get cut.
Jaleel is taller, but he's slighter and weighs less than even Miles does, 10 pounds less.
But based on the fact that he's taller, I mean, he's got more space to put it on.
He's got the frame in theory, yes. But, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you think that Chris Moore is the guaranteed 6 and maybe the safest 6. The only reason I hesitate there is that we just don't know what we have in Duvernay and Prochet yet. And I could picture Duvernay being that gunner that Chris Moore is and being better at it. You know, just because of his mentality and he seems to have that edge about him and plays with that chip. We don't know for sure. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, this is my argument to that. Chris knows that his livelihood depends solely on his ability to play special teams. So I think psychologically, Duvernay is looking to carve out a role as the slot guy. You know what I mean? He's going to go at it in special teams. But Chris knows literally this puts food on his table.
Oh, it does. I mean, it's the only way Chris really ever sees the field is special teams. But early on, I mean, I think that's how most rookies will be seeing the field as well is through special teams. And I think that the Ravens maybe more than any stress how important it is, especially for rookies to play special teams. So I don't know. I guess I like Chris Moore, but I just don't want him only here because of the fact that he's a good gunner. Like, I want a guy who can do both. Why can't we just hope that, I hope that Duvernay is a great gunner as well as a really good receiver. Yeah. Whereas I think that Chris Moore is really limited to only being a good special teamer, and we've seen what he is as a receiver, and he's just, not anyone you'd want to rely on ever.
Right. Well, when Brashad Perryman has better hands than you, it's a problem.
I mean, he doesn't get separation as a receiver. So I'm not. But here's one thing I'm really excited about. James Prochet's hands and the way he adjusts to the ball, if he can gain that separation that people are suspecting he's going to struggle to do so, man, he could be something special, man, because the way he adjusts to the ball, his natural hands, I mean, it's impressive. Now, I'm not trying to take anything from, Duvernay or nothing like that, but I think they're just different. Duvernay to me is going to be great once the ball is in his hands. He's going to be that just that tough, feisty, tough to bring down. They're just different players, but I'm excited to see what Prochet can do. If he can get open, man, he could be that possession receiver. He's not going to have that 6'4" height, but I think he could be that possession type receiver.
Crafty, sure-handed, like you said, body control is great. Yeah,
Eric Mason type, yeah.
And guys like that are great in the red zone too. While they're not huge, I mean, like you say, if you can get open in a phone booth,
big time.
I mean, because that's where space is limited. Now, the other thing I want to touch on is the outside linebacker. That's something. The outside linebacker position group is something I'm excited to see as well when the pads go on. We got a couple guys, of course, a lot of guys that are returning. I really want to see. The first thing I want to see is what Jalen Ferguson looks like in pads. If he looks the same as last year, I'm going to throw my water bottle at the TV and tell him to hit the weight room.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the big things I want to see. Aside from that, I want to see what McPhee, he's going to look good coming out of the gate, but I want to see how they're using him because I want him to last the whole season.
Yeah.
But what else are you looking? What are you looking for as far as outside linebacker position?
Well, I think that the biggest thing last year that frustrated most Ravens fans was the lack of ability to set the edge from the outside linebacker position. It drove, I know, me and you crazy. And then when you compound the problem when you have lack of athleticism at the inside linebacker position, they can't make up for it. So I want to see, can they find a guy that can set the edge like we're used to seeing in Baltimore. Now they seem to have found that when they brought in Justin Ellis, and he's still here, so that's good. I'm sorry, Jihad Ward.
Jihad Ward,
I always switch those two.
Yeah.
So when they brought Jihad Ward in, it was more. He kind of helped seal up the edge a little bit. Didn't give you much from a pass rush standpoint, but certainly helped. But man, I mean, can we just set the? I mean, you mentioned the Jalen Ferguson. He's got the body type. He 6'6", like 260.
Huge man.
Huge. So maybe that, they say the development between your first and second year is the biggest. Maybe he got some, as Wink said, he got some of that grown man strength, got some of that your father's strength, and that could be what he really needed, because he was forced into that role when McPhee went out, and he did get better as the year went. So look, if he comes in better week 1 this year than he was week 17 last year, then I think we can start to be a little more excited about the guy. But I guess the question is, what kind of worker is he? And we just don't know that until we see what he looks like in year 2. Just like every other position, we didn't, even with Lamar, we knew he was a worker, but we didn't know he was this hard of a worker. So if he can have any type of that, that work ethic, I think we'll be fine there. But if Pernell McPhee, see, the problem is if they are forced to use Pernell McPhee to stop the run, then it just negates what makes him special for us, which is bringing that interior pass rush, as well as some outside pass rush as well. But if he's forced, because of lack of play by the other guys, to go to the outside and stop the run, it's just going to limit his snaps as a pass rusher, and I think that's going to hurt us. So we need to see someone out there. I don't think Bowser can do it. It's going to have to be, like you said, it's going to have to be Ferguson. It's going to have to be Ward. That's really only 2 options there.
Yeah, you know what? On the opposite end of the spectrum, it's so frustrating because Tyus Bowser looks like a beast walking out there. He's got these massive biceps the size of my head, and he just looks like a crazy athletic guy, and like I said, he's just not getting it done. So
he just doesn't fit us. He's like a coverage. He just doesn't fit what we in Baltimore expect out of the outside linebacker. I mean, he's 6'3", 240. Our outside linemen are usually 6'5", 6'6", 260. So he just doesn't have, I don't think, the height and weight to hold up on the outside.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then the last thing I want to mention before we hop off here as far as position groups is I'm excited to see what Blueberry Marmalade and Peanut Butter Crunchy Peanut Butter look like together. Malik Harrison and Patrick Queen. I cannot wait to see how long it takes for them to get out there and start. I'm really excited to see what it looks like for them ramping up. A couple notes here is that the Ravens, just a plug for them, because of course we love the Ravens. They're going to be live streaming tomorrow, I think starting at 9 a.m. because, no one's going to be at training camp, but they're going to be live streaming. You can watch it on the app. You can watch it on their YouTube channel. You can watch it on their Facebook page. So Baltimore Ravens, the actual organization, you can live stream that, and we'll be doing that as much as we can and give you guys the notes and takes on that, which will be awesome. A couple other things. If you're still with us, you're getting all the good stuff because we got Lou Young, former NFL player, DMV native, played for the Panthers when they won the Super Bowl in 2008, or when they went to the Super Bowl in 2018, and he is now a comedian, up and coming actor. Really excited to get his take, get some comedy from him. So bring your popcorn; it'll be a funny one. That'll be tomorrow as well. And we are also going to do a video on the position battle specifically. The roster, we're going to do like a roster depth prediction video. So I'm excited about this coming
where
week.
we will accurately predict the roster.
That's right.
I just wanted to quickly kind of piggyback on the inside linebacker you were mentioning.
Yeah.
The thing that intrigues me is they just extended LJ Fort. Now they bring in Malik Harrison and Patrick Queen, who from the outside looks like the obvious 2 starters there, with Patrick Queen being the natural 3-down linebacker. But LJ Fort was really good against the pass last year. He was a guy that was asked to do a lot of coverage. He's asked to do some pass rush. He was good at both. They just gave him money, so he's going to have to play. So my question to you, Jimmy, is early on, while Queen is obviously the incumbent, he's obviously the guy who will eventually be taking over. Do you see LJ Fort maybe early on taking on that role as the pass cover guy? Just because they just paid him, he showed he could do it last year, and he is the vet with obviously a lot more experience.
I could see that in theory. I just think Queen starts day one. I don't know. I understand where you're coming from there, but and I think LJ will get plenty of snaps. So it would be weird to see Malik Harrison start before Queen, right? Like based on skill set more than anything. You know what I mean? Because like you said, you got a surefire guy that you just paid in Queen's spot. Obviously not as good as Queen as far as ceiling and potential and things like that. But I don't know. I see Queen there. But I will say this, LJ Ford is an excellent special teamer.
And at the nickel, imagine in the nickel, if you have two inside and you put Queen and Fort in the middle.
She's a whiz.
I mean, because even if you run, they're not like hard, they're obviously good run.
Yeah.
Obviously,
the open
Queen
field tackling ability. Right. And LJ did a great job open field tackling last year. I mean,
and then if you try and throw against them, they're pretty darn good at covering linebackers and running backs out of the backfield as well. So, yeah, I would say maybe in passing downs, you could see both of them. But my question is when they go to the dime, this is what I'm excited to see. When they go to the dime and they have the four corners in and they usually bring a safety in, to help. Will we see LJ Fort or will we see Patrick Queen or will we see neither in those dime packages? But that's what I'm kind of excited to see.
No, for sure. You guys give us your takes. Let us know what you think. We laid out a lot of stuff. Really excited to see the pads come on tomorrow. Let us know what you guys are excited about. Answer some of our questions. I have a lot of concerns. I'm a worry wart. Absolutely. And then also make sure to subscribe. Take 2 seconds to do that. Hit the notifications button. Give us a like because this week is going to be awesome. With camps, with pads coming on, with the roster prediction show, with Lou Young coming on. We got a whole litany of guests lined up. So make sure you stay tuned and hit the subscribe button. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.